Good afternoon, everyone. This is Sean Blyle from the client development team here at MembersFirst. We'd like to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon for our monthly webinar on marketing services. And today's topic is going to be how your club can get found with online, or excuse me, how you can get found online with search engine optimization. The main focus of this presentation is going to be all on how you can use on-page SEO. So what I'd love to be able to do is introduce the team that is going to be providing the webinar today.
I think we're getting a little delay, Sean, sorry.
Oh, okay, no problem.
Let me go back and forth because it's showing the right slide.
Okay, great. Thanks,
One
Victoria.
moment, guys. There we go.
Perfect, thank you. And so just a little bit of an introduction for everybody who's going to be on the webinar today. So I myself am Sean Blyle. I'm a part of the client development team here at MembersFirst. And we also have Victoria Burns and Rick Wilson. Victoria joined us, she started her career with MembersFirst after she worked at 4 different private country clubs. What she found was that it was the digital side of marketing that was her strong suit. Now, she was always helping out the clubs that she was working with, and now she actually just enjoys kind of working with more clubs all the time to help them out with their marketing services. Now, Rick Wilson, we're so happy to have Rick to being a part of our team. I think Rick is one of the most creative content writers that I've met, and his focus on golf, I think, is second to none. Rick comes from a private club background as well. He joined MembersFirst a few years ago to really help clubs get up to speed with the concept of inbound marketing. Both Victoria and Rick work closely with all of our clients here at MembersFirst to help bring them new members and to improve things like search engine optimization, which is what we'll be focusing on today. A few webinar instructions before we get to all the great content. So we're going to be going through a PowerPoint presentation today. Just to give everybody a heads up, all of the attendees are muted. However, we're going to walk through the presentation, and then we're going to stay on the line to answer any questions you have regarding search engine optimization. That way we can get a good dialogue going while we have Victoria and Victoria on the line. You'll also be able to submit questions. You'll be able to submit these questions by typing them into the question panel in GoToWebinar. Now, you will also notice that you have a GoToWebinar module, most likely on the right-hand side of your screen. You'll be able to type your questions directly into the question and answer area. And then what we'll do is we'll answer those in the order they're received at the end of the webinar. The other thing to know about the webinar is just if it is in the middle of your screen, the GoToWebinar module, there should be an orange arrow that you can actually maximize or minimize. And that will allow you to go into full screen mode. So with that being said, let's get to the content.
Thanks, Sean. This is Victoria. Thanks for everyone joining us today. Our game plan is to talk everything SEO, which is search engine optimization. What we'll cover is what on-page SEO is specifically, the specifics of SEO, the value of doing on-page SEO, importance of user-friendly content, do's and don'ts of optimization, and most definitely we will want to talk about how you can start implementing your SEO strategy. So first off, we just want to say, let's be serious though. What the heck does on-page search engine optimization even mean? And this little guy is going to help us figure it out. Sorry for the little delay it looks like we're having, but we should be up now. The first thing we want to talk about is just, what is on-page SEO? And SEO, there are so many different areas to focus on, and there's a lot that goes into optimization in general, but we're going to focus today specifically, like I said, on on-page SEO. We really like the simple explanation that the online income teacher provides, which is on-page SEO refers to all things that you can do on your website to help you rank higher, such as page titles, internal linking, meta tags, descriptions, etc. So you may be thinking, okay, well, I haven't necessarily heard of on-page SEO, and some of you may have, but there are different areas of just specific SEO. So like I said, we'll focus on page, but there are other areas such as off-page SEO that we'll visit in future webinars as well. And some of those examples would be like social media sharing, outreach emails, or guest blogging on your site, and really getting people to backlink to your site. To get into the specifics of on-page SEO, we'll go piece by piece to give more insight to understand everything about SEO and how to get found online exactly. On-page SEO is completed within your page content, and it's actually HTML code itself, but you don't need to know HTML to be able to accomplish it. So these key areas are things like keyword research, your page titles, page content, links, alt tags, and meta descriptions.
Thank you, Victoria. Before you can actually go and perform on-page SEO, the first step that you're going to take is keyword research. Keyword research is kind of going to be the basis for optimizing your site. So the first thing you're going to do is research the words and phrases that people are using to find your website. And you're going to end up with a pretty long list when you do this. But what you want to do is narrow it down to the more long tail keyword phrases. And what that means is just longer search terms instead of just trying to target being found for golf. Everybody's trying to be found for golf. But if you narrow it down to something more specific, let's say you're, like a Southeast Florida club or something like that, and you primarily focus on golf, you're going to go after that Southeast Florida membership keyword, which is a little bit more specific and easier to rank for. This screenshot right here is one of the tools that we use. It's HubSpot. And they're a little bit, you have to pay to use this tool, so they give you a little bit more detail than some of the other tools that we're going to recommend, but it's pretty useful. It'll tell you how difficult a certain keyword is to rank for.
Yeah, and this is just so great for us. In marketing services at MembersFirst, we use this tool for our clients, and it's awesome because we can make sure that our clubs are ranking for the best keywords possible.
So here's a list of some really cool tools other than HubSpot that you can use in your keyword research. Moz is a pretty popular one. WordStream is also very popular. And then if you're into pay-per-click already, you probably have Google AdWords, and you can actually perform keyword research right within that platform as well. And then a quick and easy way to do some quick keyword research without actually using a tool would just be in Google search. So say you have a long tail keyword in mind, you can go into Google search and just start typing that phrase out. And I'm sure you're familiar with Google giving you recommendations when you start typing something in. This is a good way to figure out what people are actually searching for related to those long phrases. So you can put those in your keyword list as well. This is just a cool way to kind of work around using those tools. And then once you have a keyword or a set of keywords, you're going to want to get those integrated into your page titles and your website in general. Google needs to know that your website's relevant to those topics. So having it in the page title just lets Google know that your website is relevant to something like Southeast Florida golf. And then also in the page content. So if your website is actually relevant to the topic that is your keyword, this shouldn't be a problem at all to work that into body copy of the website, but you also want to make sure it's in the headings. So after the page title, you're going to have headings within the body copy, just the larger text, and you just want to make sure that you're working those long tail keywords into those headings, just again to let Google know that this page is relevant to that topic, and then your ranking should reward you accordingly. And of note is just make sure you're not using it too many times. So Google can actually tell if you're putting it in there on purpose just to rank for it. So usually just 2 or 3 times is fine. Don't use it every other sentence. Google actually does penalize people for keyword stuffing.
Yeah, we don't want that to happen. And we'll talk a little bit more in regards to some of the don'ts that you don't want to be doing while you're focusing on on-page SEO. So within your page content that Rick was just talking about, we use links to other pages within your sentences to help provide a user with an easy navigation through your website. Anytime you mention something in your content and you have a whole other page that talks about that subject, you want to make sure that you link to that page. So as an example here, for most of us working in membership side, that is where I had most of my background in. If we had something on a page that says learn more about membership categories, we're going to want to go ahead and link that whole phrase, learn more about membership categories, versus just saying learn more here and linking just those 3 words. So it's a little more descriptive, inline text. It's easy to read. You didn't try too hard to add a learn more, and they're going to be able to click on that and then see more membership categories. Next up is you don't want to forget adding images to your content. This will always make it more digestible if you have images. It adds a visual appeal and breaks up the text. Alt texts are a line of text that describes your image in case the image doesn't render on your site, or if something happens, or let's say they don't have good signal, or they're using a device that's slow or something, they'll be able to get that alt text to know what was on that page. This is also great for someone visually impaired browsing your site. Their screen reader will be able to understand the image and then provide them with a good user experience. This tag additionally allows Google to know your image actually shows, or what it actually shows, so it can become searchable on the web. So you don't want to go through and just label all of your images the same, because that's not really what they're seeing in the photo, right? So alt tags and different title tags, like Rick had just mentioned, page titles, strengthen the message towards search engines and ultimately provide accessibility for your website. Your meta description is the next item on our list, and it's just a small snippet of text used to preview the page of your website that appears in search results. So below here, we will see just an example of what Google shows, and we've just highlighted that in a box, and then we've underlined some of the keywords that they're coming up for within that snippet of results from their meta description. And again, this is an opportunity to use relevant, specific, and conversational keywords in your text to help boost the page in Google's eyes. So Google and other search engines analyze your site based on all of these key elements that we've discussed so far. So it starts with knowing which search terms or phrases people are using to find your site and knowing the search phrases to which your club can relate. It's just extremely important to be relatable and conversational. It's pretty simple. We just have to properly optimize your website for on-page SEO so you can see your site rise to the top of Google searches. I know that Rick earlier had talked about example using a keyword phrase of, he showed you a screenshot of our platform that we use in HubSpot, and South Shore Golf Club membership was just a long tail keyword that was more specific. If you focus your SEO efforts on these type of phrases, you'll find great value in your SEO.
And then another important piece that Google takes notice of is the user experience that your website provides people. So if your site's easy to use, Google will actually give that a higher quality score and reward you as a result. So it's very important just to make sure that your content is readable. It's easy to navigate your website. It'll impact how long people are staying on your website, whether they're coming back, and how long they're staying there. So it's just good to keep in mind that a good user experience, it's going to ensure that people perceive your website positively. It's going to encourage them to share it with other people, and it's also going to create an opportunity for inbound links for other websites to link to your site, which will also just boost your traffic in general. And then some of the more important factors, I kind of touched on this a little bit, just to provide a good user experience. You're going to want to have a good, quick load time for your website. You don't want it to take too long to load. That's a easy way to lose people before they even see your website. You want to make sure it's visually appealing, making sure you have images on your site, making sure that it's easy to navigate, linking to internal pages, having a good nav section, and then also the readability of the website. So keeping your paragraphs short, using bullet points, bolding, just to break up the text a little bit, and to try to not bore the user.
Great, Rick, thanks. That definitely gives us a lot of the do's for SEO, and there are a few major don'ts of optimization. So first off would be keyword stuffing. You've got your keywords and you're excited to go after them and you're starting to make this plan, and that's really awesome, but don't try to beat the system and repeat words or phrases 15 times. Google will recognize that you're trying to cheat the system and they'll actually penalize you for it. So you're not helping your site at all when you're doing stuff like that. Another area is act on the search engines, or excuse me, the duplicate content. They'll see this as spammy if you duplicate multiple items. Let's say you review the same stuff over and over again. This applies to page content, your meta descriptions, page titles, and headings. They'll see this as you have had nothing unique and new for the users to read, which will really make your ranking suffer. So you want to stay away from duplicate content. Sometimes, in the club industry, we want to make sure that it's everywhere so that everyone can read it and that we're not missing anything. But that can also really hurt us when we're looking at the grand scheme of things of getting found online, which is where a lot of our potential members or event hosts are living. So the next step is fluffing content. People read less and less online these days. They just want to get right to the point and know what you have to offer before moving on to the next page. So don't write a bunch of fluffy content around your key points. Keep it short, sweet, and relevant. And this will really guarantee that users have an enjoyable experience on your site, because you really want them to leave feeling informed and not exhausted, right? So that's going to be super important for you not to be too fluffy with it and keep things concise but relatable and give them the information they want to get. And last but not least, bad user experience. As Rick was stating, we want to keep things short and make sure that they enjoy their experience on your website. So long paragraphs, small text, no images, no links, that's not fun at all for a user. So don't bore your users or frustrate them with poor performing website material. Make sure your website's easy to use and very enjoyable, and break up your text with visuals, bulleted lists, and calls to action like Rick was talking about. So over the last 20 minutes, basically what we have reviewed is just an overview of what on-page SEO is. And now that we've reviewed everything and we've talked about how you can get found online, you might be asking yourself, now what? Like, how do I move forward with this? And we just want to say that you can definitely go out on your own and do it. You have tools in front of you with our content management system if you're one of our clients to use. So if you already work with us here at MembersFirst, you're probably familiar with using the back end of our content management system. But most likely, no matter who built your site or who you work with for content management system, is there's access for you so that you can make all of these changes on your own in-house. So make sure you check out some of the tools that Rick had talked about to just get you started with keywords. And also for attending, we'll send everyone here today a free on-page strategy guide to get you started. So that'll really help you identify which pages you want to target first, make a plan and timeline, keywords, your different meta descriptions, alt text, all of those areas. So if you get to that point, we just want you to know that your client service manager is there to help you with any refreshers you need in putting it actually into our content management system. Now, for many of us in the club world and working with members and all that's on your plate, you definitely need a little extra help once in a while. So we can do that for you as well. We have a bunch of private club experts on our team, so we understand what search terms your club needs to be found for and what you're desiring to look for. So if getting found online is like a big part of your game plan for 2017 or in future years, just make sure to get in touch with either Sean, who's on our call today, or Dawn if she's your representative, and feel free to contact Rick or I. We'll have our information in the follow-up, and we'd be happy to reach out and talk more about what we offer with our on-page SEO packages. So truly, to wrap all of this up, it's a very small investment that will pay huge dividends in the long run. If your goal is to include getting found online, invest in on-page SEO before you start going to a bunch of different avenues. We know that this could be super beneficial for your club.
Okay, great. Again, this is Sean from MembersFirst. Thank you both, Rick and Victoria. That was some great content there. I certainly took a bunch of notes on this end, but what I would love to do is open up some questions to the group. Now, just as a reminder, everybody is still on mute, and what you can do, if you have a question while we have both Rick and Victoria on the line, we'd love to have you put the questions in the chat box within your GoToWebinar component. So the three of us will hang on for a few minutes to answer any questions that you have in the order they're received. Okay, looks like we've got one question that's come in here. Are you recording this webinar, and am I able to access and watch it later? Yes, you can. Just as a reminder for anybody who is a MembersFirst client on the webinar, we will be adding the links to the recorded webinar to the admin area of your website. So you'll notice a call out on the right-hand side of your admin homepage. We will not only put the links to the recorded webinar, but we will also attach the slides. In addition, Rick and Victoria, you're also going to give them some free content on how to get started, correct?
That's correct, too.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be following up, and we'll send you guys an email with a link in it so that you can get started with the free on-page strategy guide. And if you have questions, again, we're always here to answer any questions you have, but it's a good way for you to just start evaluating what will be best for your club moving forward.
Okay, great, thanks. We've got another question coming in here. This one comes from Kelly. How often do you recommend changing content and text on a website? Rick, Victoria, I'll let one of you take that.
As much as possible, but as long as you have a reason to do so, I wouldn't just change it just to change it. But search engines definitely take notice when you are updating and keeping your content fresh. So anytime there's a chance to change something about your golf page, your weddings and events page, I would definitely take that opportunity. It just lets Google know that you're, keeping your website up to date, and they'll reward you for that.
So, Rick, I actually have a follow-up question to that. So Kelly's question was, how often do you recommend changing the content and text on the website? But as a follow-up question on that, when they're changing content, should they also be doing additional keyword research? And if so, how often should you look at your keywords?
I would definitely take keywords into account when you're doing that. It's always good to just check maybe once a month or every couple months just to see how people are actually finding your website, and maybe find some new keywords that way. And if you do, definitely take an opportunity to put them in that new content that you're putting on your website. I don't think you need to be doing keyword research every day, but it's definitely good to check in on it every month or so, just to see if there's any like new ways that people are finding you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
I think also, if I could add to that, Sean, there's additional tools out there. Majority of them are paid to let you know where you're actually ranking for those keywords, and just because you think, oh, it's 3 months down the road and we should change out this content because that's going to help us the most, it doesn't. There's not an exact science to it. So every time you evaluate a page, you're going to want to do the same process of updating it and making sure that you're focusing on specific keywords. But, you know, there are different ways to find out how you're ranking on things, just different reporting methods. We do some of that with we have an on page, or excuse me, just an SEO ongoing reports that you can receive, and then it kind of shows you where you're ranking for those keywords, and then it helps you evaluate if you should be adjusting more often. But it's good, like Rick said, to you know take a look and reevaluate those pages, but you want to completely reevaluate. You don't just want to switch out keywords because you're trying to keep it fresh.
Okay. Perfect. Great. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Victoria. We've got another question that's coming in here, and this is coming in from John. Actually, it looks like this is more of a clarification question. What exactly is off-page SEO? Rick, you had mentioned, okay, so the focus of today was really on on-page SEO, anything that you can do on your website. But I do remember you mentioned this earlier on in the presentation about off-page SEO. Could you just explain a little bit the difference, just to re-clarify that for John?
Sure. Yeah. Just to clarify, on-page SEO is pretty much all the steps you can take to optimize your website, like through your actual website. Off-page SEO is more so optimizing your website outside of your immediate control. So it's more of like a long-term process. So that would be, promoting your website on social media, or trying to get links from other websites and bringing traffic from outside sources. On-page SEO is basically things that you could implement today if you wanted to, by changing your body copy, changing your page titles. Off-page is more promoting your website through other sources.
Okay, so on-page is more things that you control. Off-page is a little bit harder. Is that?
You can still control off-page. It's just there is another element of it that's in like other people's hands. So whether that's another website linking to you, or people coming to your website through social media, it's just not in your immediate control.
Okay. Okay, great question.
Do you mind if I add to that a little bit, Sean?
Sure, go ahead.
I would just say, other ways, think about an example of events that you have at the club. Someone asked this on our earlier webinar, and they were saying that, if they're hosting events, maybe they have someone who is the florist, that's their preferred florist, and then they link on their website to our website. That's a great example of like a backlink. That requires outreach. So let's say you send outreach emails, and you're sending that to influencers in your industry that you're working with to ultimately link to you. So there's a different process to it, and it is very valuable and something that we find important. But like Rick said, on page, you can just get started on your own right now. So another area would be like guest blogging on your site to relate to yours. These guests can post and also post back, or like, let's say you have someone guest write and they write something, and then they have links within their post that link back to your website. So that's another backlink strategy that you could have. And that again is going to take that outreach that you're going to need to connect and make that strategy in your calendar of your marketing. So those are things that we work on in marketing services with blogging and helping clubs do some of that stuff. But it is just a little bit different process than things that you have right at your fingertips right now. And that's why we kind of wanted to separate out on-page SEO versus off-page SEO.
Okay, great. Thanks for the clarification on that part of it. We've got one more question that's coming in now. And as a reminder for anybody who does have questions and is still on the conference call, there is a question area within your GoToWebinar control panel. So be sure to type in any questions in there. But this question's coming in from Eric. Okay, let's see here. Should we link to another page on our site every time that topic is mentioned? For instance, every time we mention events, does that need to be linked? Victoria, I think that this is probably a little bit more for you. It almost looks, the way that I'm reading this question, it kind of goes off of one of the slides that you had before, whereas you were talking about how to link within copy. So I guess, how would you organize your links within the site? Do you have to link it every time you mention the word event, as an example?
Yeah, you don't want to be overkill because you want it to be natural. You don't want your whole page to be, highlighted. So it's, when you're taking a look at a page, and we kind of focus on saying long tail keywords, things that are, sometimes it might just be golf course, and then you think, well, that's a keyword, but it would be better if it explained, your 27 hole golf course, and you linked back on your About Us page to the golf page from there. But I wouldn't try to link up everything on that page, because you can just kind of overdo it, and that's a little frowned upon as well. So you just want to make sure that it's easy to read, and that while you're reading that page, if it's something that would spur your interest, that may be in another area for more information, such as the membership categories, like I gave as an example, you'll want to do it for stuff like that. Does that answer it for you, Sean? Is that all right?
That actually kind of clears it up a little bit for me. What I take from that is, yes, you should link to it, but don't overdo it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. All right, it looks like that was the last question that was coming in here. What we will do is we will hang on for another minute or so, just in case any other questions come in. And again, as people are trying to figure out how to implement on-page SEO, certainly all of our contact information is available to you, and certainly you can reach out to either your client development executive, which is either myself or Dawn Taylor, in addition to your dedicated client services manager. However, both Rick and Victoria from our marketing services team have been gracious enough to kind of share some knowledge with us today. And certainly want to thank both of them for joining us. And I want to thank all of you for taking some time out of your Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Take care.